Big changes over the weekend.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all those everydayers. Make sure you're tuned in and subscribe to the show every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jaren, I think we're starting to understand that Jaren Kanak is moving to the offensive side of the ball. It was kind of rumored a little bit ago, but he made the number change to number 12. He had his number 7 taken on the defensive side of the ball. Sounds like my man's going to be playing some H-back tight end for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the rumor. Now, does he play any linebacker, or is it just fully committed to tight end? Maybe that's why they didn't go hard in the transfer portal. The one thing about Kanak is he plays so hard, so you'll probably see him flat some people on blocks just because he's just going to go full speed and run them over. And we've also obviously seen the high school highlights of him just trucking a lot of people. So, and we know he's big, athletic, and fast. If he can pick up the offense, we know he really struggled picking up playing linebacker. He had never played it before until he got to Oklahoma. So if he can pick up playing offense and pick up the system, he might be a really good player. I don't know how well he catches the ball because at high school it was all just wildcat quarterback. So that's just what he did. But he should be at least a devastating blocker, at least it looks like.
Yeah, somebody you want to try to get the ball in space too. And I think that'd be intriguing. How can they get him on the field in a way that's going to allow him to use his speed and his athleticism? Because he wasn't just high school fast. Like we saw at the collegiate level that he was college fast too, that he can make plays in space. Now, what's it going to look like when he gets on the offensive side of the ball? Really, really good special teams player. Still one of your core key contributors on this team. Now it's a matter of finding him more of a full-time role. And listen, as we talked about with tight end, there's questions. So to me, there's not an unreasonable path to playing time for Jaren Kanak at tight end or H-back or slot wide receiver, what have you. I think there's going to be opportunities for him there. It's just going to be fascinating to see how much he can earn this year, which going into his 4th season with the Oklahoma Sooners now, it's kind of a make or break year for my man, but I think he's got the talent and the athleticism to be impactful. Another big move that happened was from Ohio State, Chip Kelly going to the Las Vegas Raiders. So not only did Ryan Day lose Jim Knowles to Penn State, but now he lost his offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, to the Raiders.
Yeah, and that's the life of being a really good team. Usually your coordinators get picked. Now, usually they get picked to be head coaches. So that was kind of the surprise. Knowles takes a DC job at Penn State, similar job. Obviously, Kelly going to the NFL, that's not unusual. But, yeah, usually you see them take head coaching jobs. So Ohio State's going to have to find some court, and they're going to have to replace a lot on their team because they paid a lot to keep a lot of guys, and a lot of those guys are gone. Jack Sawyer, the JT told him all a while, however you say his name. His name's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, they're losing a lot. So we'll see what ends up happening. I saw Jeremiah Smith tweeted about it, and he wasn't super happy about Chip Kelly leaving, but that's the life of being a national championship type team.
And to me, it just further cements my belief that next year is really, really wide open. Aside from like maybe Penn State because they bring back Drew Aller and Georgia because it's Georgia.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Like the top 10 is going to be very much in flux. And I don't think there's any guarantees about who's going to be good and who's going to be a playoff team next year.
Yeah, and we didn't have this like crazy transfer portal where all these star players were entering and going to different teams. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of question marks. I mean, Ohio State, they're going to have to start probably a redshirt freshman at quarterback, super talented. But we just saw with Jackson Arnold, it might not always pan out. Now, there were also some things that happened with Arnold, his receivers going down and stuff. But still, I mean, that's a big question mark for them. And so, yeah, it's going to be wide open next year.
Are you buying the Texas hype?
Yes and no. I mean, I will say I hate to say it as an OU fan and grab, but they are definitely on the right path with Sark. And I believe that, they've always recruited well. They just haven't developed well. And now Sark is developing well. The key is what is Arch Manning. And we've seen him play this year, and he had some really high moments, and he had some lower moments. And so we'll see what he ends up being as a player, which is normal for a young guy. You have those highs and you have those lows during a season, but that's why you have Quinn Ewers there. My biggest question mark with them is they are losing so much defensively. And I know Anthony Hill is a star, and Colin Simmons is a star in the making. Like, I know they have some that are returning, but Barron being gone and just losing some of that secondary. I believe Makuba's gone as well. So losing some of that's the big question mark along with Arch.
And you got an offensive line that's going to have a lot of turnover as
That
well.
too.
And that group wasn't necessarily playing great with all the guys that they had starting for them at the end of the season. Oklahoma men's basketball had a big win over Vanderbilt, 30-point win over number 24 Vanderbilt. Jeremiah Fears rebounded from I would say a poor outing against Texas A&M earlier in the week where he's 0 for 5 for 0 points. Well, he goes 8 for 12, 21 points, has 4 assists. It is the Jeremiah Fears we saw in non-conference play.
Yeah, and he's been projected as a lottery pick. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but then he put on a lottery pick type performance in that game. And that game was so weird to watch because I remember with like 5 minutes left in the first half, you had like 21 points and they were down like 33-21. And I was sitting there like, man, they are so bad offensively sometimes. Like, this is terrible. And then they go score like 97 in the game and just explode the rest of the game. But you have to win some of these close games in terms of like you think the teams are going to be close. And Vanderbilt was a team that is on OU's level. You have to start winning some of those. And that's what OU has struggled to do that really since Porter got there is the 50-50 games they aren't pulling off a lot of times. And then on top of that, they're really not ever upsetting many teams either. So you have to start winning those 50-50 games because this stretch they're about to be on is going to be brutal.
Yeah, Jalen Moore had another really solid game. That dude is just like steady as he goes, man. He's like a big old cruise liner, just cruising down the street or cruising down the ocean. No big turns one way or the other. Just he's good for like 19 to 23 points every single night. And then Dayton Forsyth, dude is on fire, and he's really emerging as a breakout star this season.
Yeah, and you can make an argument he needs a start. Now, I don't know how it would all work because I think Fears still needs a start because he's probably your most talented player. But the energy he brings is just off the charts. I mean, in the game against Texas A&M, he like led them in rebounding, and he's like 6'1". So his effort he's going to give you is incredible, and he sparked them.
And to get to the craziest story of the weekend, again, go check out Locked On Mavs, Locked On Lakers. They'll have so much coverage for you here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But Jaren, what was your reaction to the Luka Doncic news?
Yeah, it was crazy. So it's at Athlon. I'm the college football writer. I also write about NBA. And so I write about both. And so I'm about to go to bed and I get a text from one of my buddies in a group chat that sent the deal. And I just went to it. I was like, no, this is like a fake Shams count. And even clicked on the profile and was like waiting for him to say that, no, this is fake. Because I was stunned. Now, I will say I'm probably an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, but I'm a LeBron fan. So
okay, that's right. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm a LeBron fan, so I kind of root for the Lakers. He was my favorite player growing up. But still, I mean, I was stunned because I'd watched the game earlier that night when they played the Knicks. And afterwards, LeBron was talking like how they need to keep improving while Anthony Davis is out and how without him, like their defensive rotations have to be better. And he's not talking like someone that knows that Anthony Davis is about to be traded. And then 2 hours later, that thing broke. And I think the only other trade that kind of surprised me like that, especially that late at night, was when Paul George was traded to the Clippers because you had the Kawhi and Paul George news back to back. And so I don't know. It stunned me. I mean, it's a great move for the Lakers because now you have your superstar for the future and Luka. And at one point, they didn't look like they had a future at all. They didn't have many draft picks. Their superstars were old. They have that now. The Mavs, you better win quick because you don't have a future now.
No, when your whole identity is built around guys in their early 30s, early to mid 30s, you're in win now mode. And it's crazy that I saw a piece that somebody had written where they quoted Dirk as saying he had just been hanging on for as long as he possibly could to see the Mavs into a new era beyond his years. And when they drafted Luka, he felt like, okay, now's the time where I can finally hang it up. And before Luka came and he said, I probably should have hung it up a couple years earlier. I could have played soccer with my kids. Now I can't do that because I'm just so hurt and broken down because of all the years and minutes he logged for the Mavericks. So just like as a Mavs fan, I was already bummed out. And then I read that about what Dirk gave up so that the Mavs could have a secure future with Luka Doncic. I'm like, come on. Come on. Yeah. Like that one was as shocking as Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma for USC to me.
Yeah. And kind of going to the trade and the question for you is, do you think if the trade happens, if Mark Cuban's there still?
No.
As the leader?
Definitely not.
I don't either, because I read that quote from, I think it was 2020, and they asked him he had to either trade Luka or divorce his wife, and he said he would be paying for divorce lawyers because he was not trading Luka. And I even read that it sounded like, or actually heard on ESPN radio today, sounded like it was the new owners were kind of tired of Luka, and that's what ended up facilitating the trade. But that being said, the GM said he brought it up to the owner, and he was kind of still shocked that they would even trade Luka, but let him end up doing it. But yeah, it's crazy how that Mark Cuban news, what was that, a year or two ago, happens, and it ultimately leads to this moment.
Yeah, so many theories about how this went down, why this went down, what the background is, reasoning. Again, go check out Locked On Mavericks for all the reaction over there. If you're an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, you can go get in my man Nick Van what's his real name? Is on Twitter, he's Nick Van Exit, but go check out Nick's channel, Locked On Mavs, and you can gloat in the YouTube comments over there about how the Mavs are doomed, because I know Oklahoma City Thunder fans love to see when the Mavs are doomed. But go check out Locked On Lakers too for all the reaction over there. I know that there are a lot of Oklahoma fans that might also be Lakers fans, just because Oklahoma didn't always have a franchise. Yeah. So there might be some over there. So go check him out. Again, this is Jaron Spor. Go follow him on Twitter at Jaron Spor. Go read his work over at Athlon, covering both college football and the NBA. I come to find out tonight. Also, you can go follow me on Twitter at John9 Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at Sooners Wire. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all your social media platforms. So go follow us over there, and make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. But for Jaren Spor, I'm John Williams. Talk to you next time. Boomer
Sooner.